Okay, now we're back and we're live again. And I think you all can see me this time because I can see myself. So thank you for joining. You all come on right back in. Come on back in. It's Lady Victoria this morning with Victoria School of Etiquette, where we offer a solution to your etiquette dilemmas. I am your etiquette educator and your worthy life coach, broadcasting to you live this morning from the great windy city of Chicago. Chi-Town is what we like to call it, you all. We are the best in the Midwest, and welcome you to our platform on this morning. It is Tuesday. So in Victoria School of Etiquette, that means it's TidBit Tuesday. TidBit Tuesday is where we offer a little bit of information that you might find interesting, useful, or at the very least, something that you can pass on to someone else. So good morning, welcome again. You all please come on in and share across your various social media platforms. Thank you for watching me live. Those of you that will catch the replay broadcast, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us on this morning. And if you haven't, subscribe to my YouTube channel by the same name, Victoria School of Etiquette. Please head on over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button so that you have access to all of our video material right at your fingertips at your convenience. Listen, I'm not going to belabor the time this morning because I'm already running behind schedule, having difficulties getting on this morning. So I'm going to jump right in, and I want you to feel free to share your comments and your thoughts in the comments section below, and I will answer them as soon as I am able to. So this morning we're talking a little bit about the origins of etiquette. Where did it come from the very beginning? Oftentimes when we think about etiquette today, we think about the queen of etiquette, Emily Post, who we oftentimes think of, good morning, thank you for joining, who we oftentimes think of as a person that introduced etiquette to the world. But she was just one of many. Born in 1872 in Europe, she was the only child of her parents and had a just idea, good morning, about how things should be done. Back in that age, they didn't have the sophistication of dining that we do have today, but Emily Post is largely responsible for introducing that to the world. Again, it started in Europe, started in France, and migrated over to the United States, and we have many others that come behind her. Her family, her grandchildren and great-grandchildren are carrying on the tradition today with the Emily Post School of Etiquette and the Emily Post Institute, where, again, like I said, her children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren run it on today. So she introduced etiquette to us, but where did even she get the idea from? Was it something that was just born in her, that was innate within her, that she wanted to share with the world? She saw a problem with men coming in from working in the field or being out all day and coming into the home or coming into various places, even into the palace. Even before her, they would come in and dine with their hands and didn't think anything about washing their hands or cleaning up, washing up before dinner or before supper. They just came in with their dirty, rugged boots and all of that, trampling across the gardens in Europe and just coming into the palace and sitting down and having a meal. Well, that was out of order then, as it is out of order now. But even long before Emily Post, we had Ramses. And we often know about Ramses. We think about Ramses as the Pharaoh, right? Back in the Bible days. That's the same Ramses that I am making reference to this morning. The very same Ramses, before he was a Pharaoh, he was called a vizier. A vizier, vizier, vizier. Viziers at that time were equivalent to what we might call our president on today. But our president and even the king and the queen in Europe, they all have advisors. They have a cabinet that goes before them, that they are surrounded with all of the time, that helps them make the decisions about how the country is run, how things are structured, set up, and organized, and how they are carried out. Ramses, before he became Pharaoh, was a vizier. He was a vizier to the Pharaoh before him. And back in those days, the vizier at that time had absolute power next to the Pharaoh. There was none greater than him other than the Pharaoh. The vizier was the whole cabinet in one person that saw to everything in the country. The running of it, the delegation of orders, laws that were being passed, the well-being of the Pharaoh and his family, and any other person that worked under the vizier. He had complete control and authority over them and saw to it that everything was carried out. Well, if the Egyptians had that much savvy back then, and they did, this is where etiquette really truly started. This is the documented proof of where it started. So we talked about Ramses being a vizier, but the one that I really want to focus on is the one that put etiquette in place back then, in that day, in Egypt, and we are still carrying out those same rules, regulations, order, structure, refinement, and decorum that was introduced way back then. The first vizier that we have documented proof of, his name is pronounced Ptahhotep. Ptahhotep. I love saying his name. It just sounds so elegant to me. But Ptahhotep was the vizier to the Egyptian Pharaoh in that time. And during that pharaonic period, they needed to have someone in place because even the Pharaoh realized that he couldn't run an entire kingdom completely by himself. But a lot of the duties and responsibilities were placed on the vizier, and as I said in the beginning, he oversaw everything from the running of the kingdom to the well-being of the Pharaoh himself. Viziers at that time often came from a long line of viziers, and you could only be appointed by the Pharaoh. There was no other way that you could get into that position. His family before him oftentimes were viziers, and most of the time viziers were men. There was one occasion where a woman was chosen to be a vizier, and I can talk about that another time. That's a lot of detailed information, but I can address that another time. But this particular one, Ptahhotep, is the one who constructed the decorum and the style of how we operate in etiquette on today. He introduced it, and it began with the young men that were in the kingdom or that were in the palace, that lived in the palace, that had various duties and responsibilities like attending meetings, overseeing instruction of the younger ones, the younger royal family that lived in the palace at that time. And so Ptahhotep documented a book that is still available today. It's hard to get. I've been trying to get a copy. It's hard to get. But he was the one that set out the rules for how men should conduct themselves in business matters, how they should conduct themselves in manner of finance, how they should conduct themselves in manners of decorum and entertaining heads of states from, well, I would say heads of states, but heads of other countries as they came into their kingdom at that time. And because he set that up, and he thought it was important that they should come in and they should present themselves in their best manner. They should come in and they should be properly attired, even then at that day. Their speech and their conversation, he made sure that they were knowledgeable about current events, about trends that were going on, about things that were being introduced in their society and carried out in their society at that time. And so he started this whole routine of training them and preparing them. They could not even come before the Pharaoh if they had not gone through these various exercises of how to enter a room gracefully, how to deport themselves in speech and conversation, how to dine at the table when they were sitting there. So all of these things that we practice today in etiquette, in the etiquette world, they are born of the Egyptian vizier at that time, whose name was Ptahhotep. The book is called the Book of Ptahhotep, and it's very hard, like I said, to get a copy. And as an etiquette educator, I'm very interested in reading his detailed accounting of what goes on. It's part of the history of etiquette, and many people don't know about it. So that's why I say I want to introduce to some and present to others this great man that I consider as having set the standard for etiquette We follow it oftentimes, and it has been introduced to us by Emily Post. There are others that had columns, Ann Landers back in the day, and many others that wrote about it, that talked about it, and gave us tips and advice on how we should behave in business, personal, and social situations. But it all began with the original vizier, Ptahhotep. Viziers rarely ascended to the throne as Ramses did, so he was a rare case. But before he became Pharaoh, he himself also was a vizier. So my time is limited this morning. I really have so many other things that I would like to add, but I have to be on the floor by 9, so I'm going to cut it short. Oh my gosh, I'm going to cut it short on this morning. But again, thank you so very much for joining me on this morning. Please like and share across your various social media platforms. And at various times, I like to deliver some other tips and tidbits for you. And that's what I have for you this morning. Just a short tidbit. If you'd like more information, just put in his name. The correct spelling is in my introduction on this broadcast, so you can look it up and find out. There's a lot of information about him, and of course I would never know this man, but I greatly admire the rules and the traditions that he put in place for etiquette as we know it today. Vizier Ptahhotep, King Ramses was a vizier. The Pharaoh Ramses was a vizier before he became Pharaoh, and all of this has trickled down through the ages to the etiquette that we know and practice on today. Just a little tidbit of information that I want to share with you. If you can't use it, someone else can, so don't be shy about passing it on. This is Lady Victoria chatting with you. Until the next time, we'll chat again, but bye for now.